Well, for years, asbestos was used in all sorts of things, like especially in insulation. And certain tradesmen used it in shipbuilding and in trades. I mean, people handled it all the time. And it would come out of ceilings, it was on their clothes. And finally, the government said, this is bad stuff, and pretty much outlawed the use of asbestos. The reason why, people started developing certain type of ailments. One's asbestosis, which is a type of lung ailment. Then there's mesothelioma, which is a very long word, meso, you've heard it several ways. Mesothelioma, which is a very rare type of cancer that is usually only associated, asbestosis too, with asbestos exposure. And you could have worked even in a summer job in college and years later be diagnosed with lung cancer, asbestosis, or mesothelioma. It's very insidious. I have lots of calls where people said, oh my goodness, I'm a teacher at a high school and they found asbestos in the walls. Oh my God, do I have a case? Well, not really, because it's one of these injuries that it takes years for it to develop. It's insidious. You get it, you don't know until your late 40s, 50s, 60s, and all of a sudden, bam, you have problems and your doctor diagnoses you. Most of the cases we see and handle are mesothelioma, which is horrible. Usually that's basically a death sentence. They tell you you have this, and they will tell you you have mesothelioma, you need to get your affairs in order, and we'll try to make you comfortable. And it's in a matter of months, it will be fatal. This is a very rare disease. We see it less and less since asbestos, as the aging of America, and asbestos has been outlawed. We have a lot from naval yards, other types of trades, you see it. And there's not a whole lot you can do, except try to make the person as comfortable and keep their quality of life. And what we do is try to make sure that the family is protected and covered. Shortness of breath, the different ailments across the body. It's one of these things you go in thinking it's not that. It's not like, oh my goodness, I have mesothelioma, or I have asbestosis, or I have lung cancer. It's like I said, it's insidious. We do a lot of lung cancer cases as well. Not just the person who was exposed, but for example, we've had cases where the family were exposed due to a wife washing the man's clothes that's covered in asbestos, things of that nature. It's harder and harder to prove because many of the asbestos manufacturers have gone out of business. They've gone bankrupt because they've known for years about this. And they didn't warn anybody, but they just kept making profits. They put profits over people. And they've paid the price in many circumstances. Not as big a price, I'm afraid, as so many families who have been devastated. But we have to look at other trades, other producers, things of that nature. And normally we get that from knowing the place that people worked, talking to their co-workers to prove the contamination, to prove the exposure. And that is a very, very difficult thing. And usually it's not one of these things where I'm going to handle a mesothelioma case. It's where you need to talk with people who've handled many cases, and they have, it's hard to say, but it's almost like books based on certain places, certain exposures, certain plants, certain companies, certain naval yards, certain boats. That's pretty much the way you prove it over all the other cases that's gone before. And knowing what different manufacturers contributed goods to it or installed, like I said, usually some type of insulation, things of that nature. You call 1-800-693-6903 or www.gregjonslaw.com. It's a free consultation. We don't charge you to handle your case. Basically, if you get nothing, we get no legal fee. It's that simple. So we want to help you. We want to do the best job we can for you and for your family, as the case may be. Because this is such a horrible, it's not just to the individual who contracts it, but to the whole family, as you can imagine.